Hello everybody, and you're very welcome to another podcast episode of the Empowering Family Health. And today I have a very special friend and guest. Her name is Sharon Bannister, and Sharon is a craniosacral practitioner, if I said that right. She's a tutor and a life coach, and Sharon is on a spiritual quest in her life. So she's on a journey of being and practicing being the best version of herself and being that change in the world that she wants for other people as well. So Sharon, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very humble with that amazing intro. And also I do apologize that the craniosacral therapy is a real convoluted way of just saying that it's like the origin of palpation of osteopathy. Unfortunately, our name doesn't even really begin to explain what we actually do. And that's why I sent you that little YouTube video clip.
Brilliant.
Which goes a lot more.
It's a lot easier to say as well, actually, the osteopath part. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say. And we're going to unfold all that because, you're completely right, Sharon, because there's so many modalities out there at the moment and people aren't aware of what it involves and what benefits that they can get and if it's something that they would like. So we're going to unfold all of that in this conversation, Sharon. I'm really, really excited. But first, before we get into all that, Sharon, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and what it is, what mission that you're on in the world at the moment. So tell us a little bit of background.
Okay, well, I had a bit of a challenge in my early years. I'm adopted. I was brought up by a very eccentric English family with lots of challenges. And that actually sent me on my spiritual quest because I thought, I had some very, very critical moments in my childhood. And I thought, I want to understand why people make the decisions they do, why people act the way they do. Because although there's great evil in the world, there's also great love. Mm-hmm. And you can't have one bit without the other. That's what I learned when I studied Shiatsu in the early 80s with Wateru, Ohashi. So what I did, I decided I want to learn about life. So I went off and I went to live in Portugal for many years. I learned many things. I did many incredible things, modeling films. I was living the high life and learning so much about myself and others. And then unfortunately I had a very, very bad riding accident, which left me paralyzed from the waist down for months in Faro hospital. And that was a huge wake-up call. And ironically, I was thinking, I really want to change my career change. I wanted to be a Shiatsu practitioner. But I don't know how to get back to London because I knew the top, because in those days, nobody'd heard of Shiatsu. Yeah. And they had to study with Japanese. And I knew they would only come to London. And then I manifested a very severe riding accident. So I'd say to people, you don't have to go through what I went through. Just got to listen to some of the signs you're getting along the way. And that's when it set me on a really incredible journey because I thought I must learn more about what I've done to myself and the incredible healing potential that the body has, the natural healing potential. And that's how I started.
Wow, that's incredible. And I can really hear, so you've been asking a lot of questions and not necessarily getting the answers straight away. And I think I love that, Sharon, about you because I think we have to be very curious about ourselves and curious about life and why things happen the way they do and asking those questions and what is it that I really want in life and you knew deep down inside that there was something else but you didn't quite know, and then the universe gave that to you through your accident. So it caused you to go on another journey with Shiatsu.
And it used to be called Amma, and it was really protected by Helen Keller because obviously when the Japanese lost the war, everything Japanese nationalistic Japanese was stopped. But Helen Keller pleaded the case because it was done by blind people.
Wow.
It was a very humble profession in those days. It was only done by blind people. And it's a very ancient art. It follows all the meridians and lines of acupuncture. So it's a very, very ancient art. And she really fought the cause and they were allowed to practice Shiatsu, thankfully.
Wow.
And that I got the benefit of that, and they have a very frustrating thing they do when you're teaching, they'll watch you. And luckily I had a very good trainer and he would go, yes, and wait for you to do something right and then explain what you should have done, which was a really lovely way of doing it. But the other thing is when they say, so, I mean, it doesn't mean they agree with you. It means they've heard what you said in that moment, but it could change in the next moment. So it was a really interesting concept. So it really started to make me broaden my mind, if you like.
Yeah.
And I started to meet more and more people, and I'm a practicing Buddhist of Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. I met that in the late 80s. I've been practicing ever since, and I find that keeps me in rhythm. So it's almost like having a tool so that you've got a little bit more space, so that you don't just act and react.
Yeah.
So you can sit back and go, okay, number one, you've got to take responsibility for every action you take in your life. It will have an immediate reaction or something later on, and be prepared for that. And if something happens to you that's really shitty, it's not necessarily that you've got bad karma. Karma's just action. It can be good and bad, you know. It's not, it's bad. It's just, okay, that's happened. What are you meant to learn from it? Or sometimes it's just a nasty thing and you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But nothing's really wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because we've chosen this life, we've chosen this experience, we've chosen to be in this group of people.
I love this whole conversation, Sharon. And you know what? There's a lot that I've gotten out of that there now. And what I can hear is when you were doing those practices and you were saying, you know, if you did a movement, they'd make a sound or whatever, and you wouldn't know, they'd comment afterwards. And what I heard in that was whatever it is that you do or say or whatever is perfect in that moment. And there's no morality about it. There's no right or wrong. It's perfect because whatever shows up or however you're being in that moment, if there could be something to look at, and your mentors or tutors, if you like, will explain to you how you can do better, or if there's something to look at or something to see. And it's different for everybody. Like
absolutely.
That is really,
everybody's unique.
Yeah, it's so different, and it's really important. This is what I'm hearing, is it's really important not to look at it as right or wrong, because when we make ourselves wrong, the vibration goes down.
Yeah, but that's what we teach our students. They have to come from a neutral space. They're going to deal with some things that are very challenging and shocking. And, you know, when you do have a client that's got really challenging situation or something that you might not have that life experience, especially if it becomes abusive, you know, people have had abuse or whatever. And I teach them that you don't start ticking boxes and writing your, you know, your whole thing down, the case history. You put your papers down. You sit and face the person and you listen with your whole body. Afterwards you can try and make little quiet notes. Eventually they will, as they trust you, they would say more. The most important thing is you create a safe space for that person to heal, whatever that is. And the beautiful thing is, some people think, oh, but I've been through so much, I can't possibly be a practitioner. I said, do you know you have a gift? Because your body, well, you've got little telomeres on the end of each cell, and they've kept you alive. You know, there is sensory things. So when somebody comes in with a lot of trauma, you haven't mentioned a word, their body will know that your body is coming from truth and that you're 100% authentic without even opening your mouth. Yeah. So the wonderful thing about craniosacral therapy, if I have to help somebody through a traumatic situation or event they've had, or even in their childhood, you don't have to relive the trauma and re-traumatize the trauma.
Yes.
So you can just hold a neutral space. So they might have had a lot of therapy, spoken therapy, and intellectually dealt with it. But in their body, all the tissue memory is all going, I don't think so. And you help integrate that whole thing, and then they'll have a lot more energy. They won't have insomnia. They won't have digestive problems, you know.
Am I right, Sharon, that so when you were talking about that and the logical part, and as human beings, we're always trying to make sense of things as why stuff happened to us, right? So an awful lot of stuff is logical in the head. So am I right in saying, Sharon, that for many of us walking around, even when we're doing the talk therapy, that we may be resolving stuff mentally up here to a certain extent. So we're living in our head or from our head or upwards, but our body remembers stuff, and we talk about habits and stuff like that, and the body remembers instances in our lives, and our body can react, which is an automatic reaction. That's what react. I remember it was very funny when I looked up the definition of reaction. It's an act that you're redoing all the time. So it's the same act, right? React.
Yeah.
And of course, the body likes to have these memories to keep us safe, right?
Yes.
That's the purpose of it. But it serves us sometimes, like we don't want to walk out in front of a car, but then we can hold on to them really rigidly, like way too much. That stops the flow. And you talk about like when we're living in our head upwards, that the whole flow, the energy flow in the whole body, is we're not flowing and we're not coming from our heart. And our heart is, I love this conversation, Sharon, our heart is just, and it's been shown in scientific studies. I'm sure you've heard of heart.
Yes, heart math. No, I do it. Yeah.
And it can actually, our heart energy can actually be measured up to 20 feet away.
Totally. More. Well, they haven't got a machine to go any further. That's why.
That's right. And it does actually go further.
This is from I use daily. It's I study heart math, and they have And what's wonderful, you can actually measure the effect of what you're doing. So I did out of curiosity. I'm Buddhist, so I chant. Yeah. So when I was chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I thought, I'm going to see what this does to my heart and my rhythm and, you know, my coherence. Because I know how wonderful I feel and I know it heals my body. Yeah. But I want to mechanically see if it works. So I plugged this in while I was doing it. It went off the Richter scale. Like really high vibration.
What is that?
Which I knew anyway. You know, these are little gadgets you can get through the Heart Math Institute.
Do you have to be a practitioner to get them?
No, they're for
I'm going to get one. I'm going to get one.
Yeah, but actually, Charlotte Mary Ray, who has been on the Outstanding Network call, she is an actual coach of Heart Math, and she's excellent. And we ought to get her. You ought to get her on a call.
Oh, absolutely.
To really talk about it properly. I don't want to go into it too much because it's distracting. Yeah. But there are many tools, and I pull them out of my tool bag depending on who's sitting in front of me. And the most important thing is to listen. I found that people haven't been heard. Absolutely. They've been talked at, being given a label, but they haven't been heard.
And as children, when we're growing up, we have this thing: children shouldn't be seen and heard. So children felt like they've always had to please their parents to get love inside of that. And that's how most children have grown up. And they're always trying to please other people. And an awful lot of us, and I'm guilty of it too, an awful lot of us are going around wanting to please other people. And we have this thing in our head of he's happy, then I'll be happy. And it's completely the wrong place to be coming from.
Totally. You need to come from a centered self. Yeah. And also the thing is, if you work on yourself, especially when you start to do heart math or chanting or whatever the thing is that you do to get coherent breathing, just even doing coherent breathing or yoga breathing, your vibration will change. So you automatically affect the people and, people, animals. You know, the times I've had dogs, cats, even horses trying to get near me if I was doing a session with somebody.
Wow.
You know, so you're actually, you can physically see in your environment an immediate change. I get people, even when I was doing Shiatsu, not Cranio I find is much more, it seems to be very, very effective in more layers, quicker. I've had somebody say, oh my God, I couldn't even do road rage. And they usually do road rage. There's an American lady in a car, you know. Yeah. I couldn't even do road rage afterwards. And I said, no, because you're coming off your, you know, you're all pumped full of cortisol, especially after the situation of COVID. There's so much stress. I mean, before I was dealing more with back pain, chronic back pain. Now it's insomnia and stress.
Yeah.
And it's the next wave of crisis that we're going to have to deal with. So I find that craniosacral therapy is the therapy for the moment. Yeah. And luckily you're in Ireland, so you've got many, many amazing practitioners there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're completely right, because I've come across that a lot as well. And I always say to people, your sleep starts from the time that you wake up in the morning, meaning however you are during the daytime is going to have an impact on how well you sleep at night. So our stress levels are absolutely massive. And that includes all our thoughts and obsessive worrying, so anxiety. And then we can have depression, so that feeling of hopelessness, doom and gloom. And depression is kind of linked to the past, if you like, and you can elaborate more on that.
It's also linked to your gut very much. So, I mean, I was working on a nurse 2 days ago. I put my hands on her and she went, oh my God, I've missed your hands. And then she would, you know, you just get rid of the brain, let the body, you know, and that usually everybody snores. They fall asleep and snore. They either yabba, yabba, yabba in the beginning, because they're a bit nervous, but then they just fall asleep and snore. And then I got a message from her after the, you know, she's going, oh my God, this is so good, it's so good. Message her, she slept for 13 hours.
Oh my God.
But she'd been so stressed. She hadn't had a session during the whole months of COVID. Wow. And she's a nurse and having to wear PPE and all that stuff. So,
wow. Where are you based, Sharon?
I'm based in London.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're in London.
I'm based in London, but don't worry, you have many, many, many fabulous practitioners in Ireland.
Yeah,
I can always let people know.
Tell us about the therapy itself, craniosacral. What does it involve, and what happens in the session?
Well, we take a short case history, which is absolutely confidential, and then you know, usually people are closed, so I they're on a massage couch, you know, usually. But having said that, I've done things at the side of traffic accidents, in hospitals with intensive care machines going crazy. It can be done anywhere. But normally you'd be on a couch in a quiet environment. You usually have sensations of gentle warmth passing through your body. Sometimes it's like a tickling sensation, or little twitches, because the body holds stress and then it releases it, so the muscles might go like that. Like when you see a puppy sleeping.
Yeah.
Its legs are going like that. You get that, you know, sort of involuntary movements happening. I very often get people snoring, as I said, but what it is, the way I like to do is to empower people and explain what's happening inside them. Because every time they feel something, they think there's something wrong.
Yeah. Or something woo-woo is happening.
No, it's meant to do that. Your tummy is meant to move. It's meant to make a noise.
Yeah.
You know, I said that to a banker, he's going, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, what are you talking about? Your stomach is meant to do that.
Yeah, I do Reiki as well, and what you call it, when people's stomachs start gurgling, they're like that, they're apologizing. I'm like, oh no, that's great. I love to hear stomachs gurgling.
Yeah. And to give you an idea, like usually people are really cut off from here, and they're really locked in their TMJ, their jaw here. And they forget that these are some of the most powerful muscles in the body, because we talk. So they go right down onto the scapula, your shoulder blade, and right down onto your breastplate. And then they wonder why they feel dizzy and brain fog, because they're squeezing here. So they're squeezing on the major, you know, arteries and veins, and the vagal nerve. And so they're cutting off all the oxygenated blood to the brain and the cerebral spinal fluid, and then wondering why they feel, oh, I feel so dizzy, you know. So that's why I put up the little video for people wearing PPE, because they found they would not be able to breathe so well. And I said, well, so do that, exhale down. It's all the yogic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Inhale, back and round, and all these little exercises just to stimulate and keep this area really free.
That's really important, yeah, with the masks, as you say, everyone wearing the masks.
No, they're really, really struggling, and my students were, so they asked me to put it up, and I put it up on Facebook, and I put it up on LinkedIn.
I'll put the link of that into the show notes here. I'll do that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Because that's really.
No, I'm gradually learning to be more IT savvy, and you'll be happy to know in about 3 weeks' time I will have a new website, and it will have all the bells. So I have all the information there. And I had to learn. It was such a steep learning curve for everybody, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. Let's go back to the treatment. And you were saying, so is it a hands-on thing that you do? Is it the head that you touch?
It's a full body treatment.
Yeah.
And I just call it, like I say, it's gentle palpation. So it's the lightest touch, but it can be very profound.
And they have the clothes on, obviously, yeah.
I might slip my hands underneath your head, underneath your back, around your ankles, you know, underneath your tailbone, but I'll explain what's happening. So there's a hold that the body really, really loves when I slip the hands underneath the spine. And there's specific junctions where all the ganglion, all the nerves, like it's a bit like spaghetti junction.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that go to all the functions of the body. Without getting too anatomical, C6 and 7, T12L1. If I place my hands there and listen, I might get a little pulse on one, and then it's going like old-fashioned dial-up.
Yeah.
And I talk to my clients and say, look, what we've got here is like old-fashioned dial-up or Morse code. What we need is streaming. So I'm going to hang out here, get out of the way and let your body, and your body's going to literally scan itself like a scanner. And you'll eventually feel beautiful sensations. And then once it all reconnects, that beautiful cerebral spinal fluid that bathes and protects the brain can actually flow properly along the spine, and all the other stuff, not just, you've got the liquid line, the midline, the liquid line, the light line, you've got energetic lines,
everything.
So much going on.
Yeah.
And reconnect them. And that's why people say, oh, I feel a whole me again.
Yes. Whole and complete.
Or you get the tortoise situation, you walk out with your shoulders like that. So once you've got the relaxer, suddenly it looks like a telescope. The neck goes,
yeah. The neck really coming up, and the posture is back in alignment again. The posture is so incredibly important, because what was it? I heard words, thoughts is the language of the brain, and then the body, the posture is the language of the body, and it's so true. And Sharon, I love what you're saying, because I think it can't be said enough, that we are energetic beings, and it might sound woo-woo to some people, but it's like it can be measured, so it's scientifically measured. And like when our body is flowing, and like all our different organs hold different emotions, like the liver is anger and frustration or whatever, and the kidneys is fear, and for young children, you might see children, and there's many reasons why children wet the bed, but fear is a very big one.
Yeah.
So there's really, like, don't overlook it. Like, the power of your body is just so incredible. And when your body this is the key, when your body is in balance, your body has this innate healing ability, like unbelievable. Your body's always trying to heal. So
24/7.
Yeah, like really and truly always. So really listen to your body, and don't just keep going to the doctor for pills. Like, there's a place for doctors, but I believe that we can do so much more. And it's not about sick care, it's about health care, and really maintaining our health and living the best possible life that we can possibly live. And when we sleep, an awful lot of our healing is done at nighttime, because our body is in either one of two states at any time, and all the healing, repairing. And we talk about the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is really important for switching on the fight or flight, or the calming and healing part of the nervous system. And it's only when we're in that state that we do all the healing. And it's really important that if we're feeling tired, or, and it's okay during the daytime to sit down and have a rest, like really listen to your body. It's just so powerful. And I know you'd agree with that, Sharon.
Just stop. I mean, although we've had terrible situations with COVID, one of the good things was people had to stop. And then there was something, I can hear the birds.
Yeah.
Oh, I can smell, because they've been cut off so much, just going. And what we say, healing, profound healing happens in stillness.
Absolutely. And
so that spinal hold, it helps the body drop down. And so you come from the choppy sea, to the currents, to the tides, and then to deep down, because in the ocean it's really powerful. But it's like dynamic stillness. That's how we sort of say it.
I love how you describe that. That's brilliant.
But no, the body is amazing. It's better than any computer. They can't do a computer to do all the functions of the body. But the main thing is most people are running on adrenaline, cortisol, they're not switched off. And that's when the damage starts. I mean, a little bit of tension and stress is good. It stimulates us into action. But then we've got the reptilian brain. It's all switched on and it's not swithed off.
Yes,
and distraction, that's when things go a bit cranky.
And I think prior to this whole restrictions, I hate saying those other words, restrictions, let's say, prior to that, we were so busy, right? Everyone was so busy, and it was great because, I'm getting a lot of work done, I'm making a lot of money. But with all that busyness, now the word busy to me says chaotic. Okay, multitask, and when we're in that state of being, we're not focused, and we're not giving the best of ourselves, the best attention to one job, right? But also we are so distracted, and that's what was happening with people not being able to sleep properly, was people were so distracted during the daytime, and then at nighttime they were able to not hear the birds because it's nighttime, but like they actually they slowed down, and that's when all these thoughts would come into their heads, and all the anxiety would happen at nighttime. So that's what was happening prior with all the busyness. And now the anxiety is worrying about the uncertainty and what's the future hold for everybody. You were talking about breath work, Sharon, as well, and breath work is a very effective way of having an effect and impact on this vagus nerve. Can you tell us a little bit about breath work?
Well, it works very quickly because it's the one thing that we can, as humans, influence the brain through breath work, and it works immediately. And you literally it was like reprogramming a neuron path, So through breath work, you can actually calm the vagal nerve down dramatically and very, very quickly. And that's why yogic breathing, heart math, alternate breathing, there's lots of many ways. And I find out what suits, whoever's with me, and I can share that with me. And but there's so many things. It's really sad when you get people with children and they're on their mobile phones and the little child is sitting at the slide waiting for daddy or mummy to look at them. It's that moment, they're obviously busy people, they've got their child to the park, but then they've missed it. They've missed that magic, and it's so sad when I see that. Or a little one, and it's just reminding people to connect in healthy ways,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Check in with, it's like mindfulness. I think HeartMath takes mindfulness to the next level, and it's just so wonderful because you're always checking in with yourself, and that's what I help my clients to do. Check in with themselves. How are you feeling right now? What sensations can you feel in your body right now? So it stops the mind spinning into that fight flight mode or freeze.
Absolutely. And I'll just touch on the phones there, because you could talk for 8 hours on phones.
Oh my goodness.
You could but just on the phones when you said it, and I'm delighted to actually mention that, because phones are a massive distraction, and they're also, we're addicted to our phones, and our phones are cutting us off from relating to other people. Our phones are cutting us off from relating to ourselves and nature as well, because and our head is down, and we were talking about posture, and I just say this to my daughter, your head is down.
All the young ones, they're actually doing damage to their cervical. They're coming in with problems.
Yeah. So it's massive. It really is massive. So be mindful of your phone usage, and like literally put your phone in another room at certain times during the day when you're being with your children. Like really be with your children, not physically in body, but be with them.
Absolutely. And also how many Zoom calls or messenger calls or WhatsApp calls if you have, make sure the height is right for you, and you're not down like this.
You might set up here, Sharon, at the moment. I've got a little table here. I've a stool. It's like a cube stool, and I have a book underneath my laptop. So that's how I have it set up.
I've got my iPad propped up on a little IKEA 2-drawer box turned on its side. So
because I'm standing. I like to stand when I'm doing my podcast, and like it really does. And like that, the posture again with the posture, it really comes true. And we've heard of like power poses, the Wonder Woman power pose, and the victory pose. When we win something, the 2 hands go up in the air like a V shape, and it's not a coincidence. It really there's energy in all of that.
There's a lot. Sorry, I've got to share this. I did obviously I've done lots of presentations, but I used one of my presentations was an old Peanuts Charlie Brown thing, and I'm practicing this is my depressed mode, because when I walk like this, it's very hard to be depressed. You can't. It's very, very hard, and it's so true. And I always do that when I'm talking about things.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when your head is down, and like if you see people who are depressed or feeling hopelessness or whatever, the whole body is there, the shoulders are forward, the head is down. That's what we're doing when we're holding a mobile phone all the time. Like seriously, like really be aware of that, because your body gets used to that state, and it goes, it's so profound.
And I've got to share something else with you, which really is so important if we're going forward. Because of the situation, when they want to take your temperature, they keep on pointing at the head. Please don't do it. It's more accurate to do it on the wrist or the crease of the elbow. And also, because you've got children with autism or people with disabilities or mental health issues, pointing that thing that looks like a gun at their head is not, So we try and teach them to, as many people as we know, to use the wrist or the elbow. The inside of the elbow.
That's a fantastic point, Sharon. The whole symbolism of pointing it like that, and
because otherwise you're getting desensitized to having a thing pointed at your head.
Very true, very true. Sharon, we're coming to the very end.
I know.
And I could, oh my God, I love this conversation, Sharon. Maybe we'll have you back on the podcast in the future
Thank
because
you.
we've so much.
Love it.
I just love this and it's so so relevant. It really is so relevant. So Sharon, if I was to ask you on a parting note, what important message would you like to leave people with? What would you really say to people to have them empowered to really listen to their body and respect their bodies?
Breathe.
Oh my God, that is incredible.
Stop and breathe.
Yeah.
Just, in through the nose, to hold it a moment, out through the mouth, pause, and then go in through the nose, pause, out through the mouth. And if you do that, that will calm your system down straight away.
And it's so effective. It is such an impact on the body and it's instant. Breathing and it costs nothing to breathe.
Yeah, and joy. And just sing, do whatever makes you joyful.
Oh my God.
Don't forget to have fun.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Sharon, thank you so much. Where can people find you?
They can, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, Sharon Bannister. My old website is connecttohealth.net, so www.connecttohealth.net, but soon it will just be my name, so you'll find me anywhere. But if you Google Sharon Bannister, and I will update you when everything's up and running.
Great.
And any help I can do for you or your viewers or listeners, most welcome.
Brilliant, Sharon. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think we'll definitely have you back on because this is definitely a powerful conversation that people need to hear a couple of times, I think. And, yeah, really. And but it's so powerful, and an awful lot of the work that we can do on ourselves costs nothing. And it's just knowing that we have the power and the healing power of the body as well, like really to know that and to be aware of that as well. So Sharon, thank you very much. It's been a joy and a pleasure having you on. So thank you very, very much, Sharon, and have a great day.
Okay, thank you.